Welcome back to episode 4. This episode is, we could talk forever about all the stuff that happened in the hospital. So we're just going to kind of merge the last half of his stay into one episode this time and just kind of pick out the more important pieces, I guess, of all that happened there. During that time, just to give you a little kind of glimpse into what it's like to be a support person, I just want to say this part for people that are support people that are watching this or are going through it, or even if you know a support person that's going through something. There was a couple people that would come up to me and everybody was praying for Grant. Like, it was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
We had people from all over the world really praying for you, actually.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not even going to start naming all the places because it's a long list.
It was crazy.
But it was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
But there was 2 people in our church, 2 ladies who would come up to me almost every time they saw me and just say, we are
praying for Grant and also for you. They probably said that.
I think I'm gonna have a hard time with this episode.
Mm.
There's a few spots that I might get emotional for with some of the stuff that we're going to be talking about. So I'm just going to try power through it and keep talking anyway. So there was 2 ladies that came up to me almost every time they saw me and just said, you always know we're praying for Grant, but I want you to know that we are praying for you. Or I am praying for you, because they didn't come up to me together, but they had both been support people for their own loved ones at some point in their life, so they understood what it was like, and just that compassion that they showed me was very touching. So anyway, this is just a little shout out to all those support people out there. It's really important to reach out to those people too.
Mm-hmm.
And I really appreciated it. So I just wanted to say that. So what my life looked like when Grant was in the hospital was I was homeschooling the kids still. It was in the middle of the school year. So that still had to go on. We're an hour and a half from our hospital that Grant was at. So it was too far for me to travel back and forth every day, but I wanted to be with him like the whole time that I could be, which was like 8 in the morning till, well, visiting hours are supposed to be 8 at night, but I would stay there till like 10 every night because he was so sick, and I had a hard time being away from him when he was like that. So I couldn't travel back and forth all the time to be with my kids. So friends of the family very generously offered me to stay in their basement. They had a little like suite down there, and they let me stay there, and that was amazing. It was only about 10 minutes from the hospital in the good traffic hours, and I would go there every night. And I was going through a lot of looking into things that treat cancer naturally and that are helpful when you're fighting cancer. And so I bought a juicer, and I had my little juicer down there, and I went and bought a bunch of vegetables, and I would go home and juice a bunch of stuff for Grant, and I'd bring them back to the hospital for him in the mornings, and he tried his best to drink as many of them as he could. Mm-hmm. Even though he wasn't feeling good and nothing sounded good, especially not a broccoli juice
with lemon.
With lemon that burned his poor mouth sores. Yeah, it was a learning curve, but every day I'd go spend with Grant, be there for him as much as I could be, go home 10 o'clock at night, juice some stuff, get up at 7 in the morning,
and make bone marrow broth.
I made bone marrow broth, and I also tried bringing that to him. That was also hard for him to drink, but he tried his best. So that was kind of my life for that month.
And when you did come, every day you'd be sitting there, and oftentimes I was sleeping, so you'd often be updating the scripture board and reading scripture, and we always had music playing. So
yeah, or texting people and
filling people in,
filled in on how you were doing. Or every day I also logged. This is one day's worth of writing that I would log how Grant was feeling, any procedures they did that day, medicines that he was on, just to keep a little record. So I did that too. And then once a week, I would come home to see the kids, spend a couple hours with them, and score all their school for the week, and then plan school for the next week. And I would try to be there for about 24 hours, I guess, is kind of what it ended up being. I honestly don't know how I had the energy that I did during that time, because I wasn't getting that much sleep, and it wasn't restful at all. And I do know, I know that it was God that just carried me through that. Because looking back at it now, thinking about it actually almost makes me feel tired. Just thinking about it, I was like, how did I do that? But during the time, I didn't feel that. I didn't feel exhaustion. I didn't feel stressed. I didn't feel like sick at all. Even I never once got sick for like 2 years while you were going through this, actually. And I just know that that was an answered prayer from God, because that was one of my prayer requests, that I would stay healthy, because, often when you're not getting good rest, your immune system gets weaker, and then you get sicker easier. And that didn't seem to happen. Like, God just carried me through, and I had tons of energy to keep up with everything and never once got sick. That was amazing. I look back on that and just thank God, because I know that was his provision there. This first picture was on about 11 days into his chemo. So I think this was pretty close to when you started losing your hair almost, but it was right before. This is one of his good moments where he's actually trying to eat something. This picture shows the difference between a healthy person's hand and somebody who has
very low
blood numbers, like low platelets, low hemoglobin, which is probably the most noticeable thing in this picture. Because my hands look really red, but that is actually just a normal color compared to his very white hands. And then the next picture is just to show how much of a pincushion he was, because he had to get blood taken like at least twice a day, if not more, because of his fevers. He was just poked a lot. This next picture is just another like side effect of the chemo. And I don't think the doctors even really knew what this was about. That was kind of scary to see, because I didn't know what was happening there. And then this is the day that he started losing his hair.
The first time.
Yeah. So this was kind of like where it almost hit you, like,
yeah, this is really happening.
This is happening.
Yeah, I decided, I might not ever have a widow's peak, so let's pick one out. So I decided to pick all my hair back and see what a widow's peak looked like. So looked pretty stellar, as you can see. Styling. Yeah, I picked it for a bit, and then I thought, well, maybe it would be better just to shave it all instead of spending the time to pick it all up.
You losing your hair was kind of for you were kind of having fun with it. But I think it was hard I know it was hard for your mom to see, because I think, like I said, that was kind of when it really hit you that you have cancer.
Mm-hmm.
because this is such a typical cancer thing that happens is they lose their hair.
Mm-hmm.
And up until then, you could almost,
I just looked sick.
yeah.
Yeah.
But then you lost your hair, and that was like almost like a, but we tried to just power through it and
Mm-hmm.
pretend it didn't bother us.
That's right.
So that was an interesting time, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So this was after he had lost his hair and shaved his head, and I went and he had this little teddy that I got him in the gift shop because it reminded me of him with its little sticky outy ears and its bald head. So I brought it up for him, and I still have that little teddy bear sitting on my bed. That is a little memento of our time in the hospital and just the little, yeah, the journey that he's been on.
Mm-hmm.
And I just thought it was cute.
He was my little buddy the whole time.
Yeah. Your little mini me.
Yeah. And then he has a little hood.
Yeah.
He got a little hoodie on. So
Yeah.
he can cover up his little cold bald head.
Yeah.
And his sticky out ears.
And this next picture is
one of our dates.
It was one of our date nights. We were having a movie night because you were feeling well enough for it. And of course, he never lost his humor. So he took some gummy bears and stuck them to our noses, and we're going to see whose gummy bear lasted the longest without falling off. And I think they just kind of dried there, and
I think
they were not going to fall off. They weren't falling off.
So then our gummy bears had little snuggles. Our gummy bears had little kisses.
And we eventually just had to take them off because they were not going anywhere.
So if you are in the hospital and you're going through something like this, you have to make some stuff fun.
Yeah.
And it does. Fun in there. Yeah, it does help make the time go by a little bit quicker and more memorable. And don't forget to take pictures about these kinds of things. So, because you get to look back on it and remember those times. And there are a lot of down moments. So a little bit of sunshine in those darkness, in that darkness is always uplifting. I would always try and get Melissa to join me on my bed and sit together while we watch a little bit of TV before she left. So,
and I was always worried about hurting him, and I was like, "No, I don't want to lay on your IV wires," and I was scared, but he'd convince me. I wasn't scared, but I was definitely didn't want to rip your IV out by accident. Your PIC line, but do it.
It was all good.
Yeah. So this one is 4 days later from the one where he's sitting in the chair with the teddy, and you can already see him. He really declined towards the end of your stay. Like, you were very quickly going downhill. And you can see it in his, not just his looks, but in his eyes. You can see his eyes were like really tired here and not feeling well at all. And he was doing daily updates on Facebook whenever he felt up to it. And this was one of those pictures that he took for that. And like he said, he was trying his hardest to look as, healthy as possible. But you could tell that he's not feeling good here. And there's a big difference from the 4 days before where, yeah, you just started going downhill. And then the next picture is, again, 4 days after this one. And you can see how fast he's declining. And this is where we really started worrying about him. I mean, we were worried about you the whole time. But you could tell that he was just getting more and more and more and more sick, and his blood numbers were just staying at 0, 0, 0.
My color was...
And his color was getting worse.
Even worse.
And he was starting to look like an 80-year-old man instead of a 40-year-old man. And he was losing a lot of weight.
And again, this picture, I was trying to look my best.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
He was trying hard to look his best here. He took this picture like 5 times trying to get a good picture, and this was the best one he could get. I have a before and after picture of his first kind of few days in the hospital, and then this one. And I'm going to put it up here. And this one is, they're only 3 weeks apart. So this is how fast his body just changed from the chemo and the cancer, I guess, in 3 weeks. And you lost like around 20 pounds, I think. It was 2 days before this picture that the nurse came in. Um, and I think she was a nurse that came in to be upfront with us. Because I think the other nurses were
Too connected, probably.
maybe too connected, because this was the first time that this nurse had come in. Like we hadn't, she had never been his nurse before this. Um, and I think that the other nurses just would have had too hard of a time being upfront with Grant about how sick he was. And so this day, she was his nurse, and she came in and she was being very upfront with him and being like, "So you're really sick." Like I remember her saying that,
Mm-hmm.
"You're really sick. We don't really know why, because by now people are on the mend, and you're not. You just keep getting worse." Um, she said, "Usually with the chemo, we like to bring people to the edge of what they can handle. So like your body can handle a certain amount of stuff before you die. And we like to bring people right up to that edge." And she said, "You're past that edge. Like we don't know really if you're going to make it back to the edge," is basically what she was saying.
Mm-hmm.
And that struck a chord of fear into my heart for sure. Because up till then, I just thought this was normal. I didn't know that this wasn't normal. How sick he was and how fast his body was just changing. And in that moment, I realized it wasn't normal. And that was a little bit concerning, for lack of a better word.